In this video, we will truly break down into what it takes to understand sacred geometry, biogeometry, your biology, and claiming your authentic original life forces back in the body. Because essentially, that is the missing link for most of humanity. Life forces, or also termed chi, have been taken away or was broken into pieces when being downloaded in the matrix of duality or the dark ages. And thus we arrived at a stage in which we are repairing everything. When we were downloaded on the planet, as I will break that down, in which you will feel one with all the invisible, visible forces, because without it, we don't have communication. And this new age is all about restoring with the languages of light, with the languages in nature. And even though invisible today, we make them visible because it is available, it was granted, it is opened. As we can understand that we were downloaded in ego consciousness, also termed soul. So the broken veins, the fractures in the soul need to go back in some repair system in which you can move up the many dimensions, and beyond that move into the living light realms in which you become your authentic self or the creator self. Because everything in this universe, in this entire cosmological soup, the galaxies, there is so much out there we have completely forgotten because our database was cut off, our memory codes were cut off. So there is a lot to recover, and I'll make it understandable for everybody willing to understand what it means to open up geometrical codes, your own designs, essentially, light language, and get there in a short amount of time, because that is what we all want, right? We are impatient, though patience is one of the highest virtues in the universe. And then again, we are living these special times in which we can actually experience anything. When we take into high regard that that our authentic life force, chi energy, has been cut down to the lowest of levels. If it were not, there wouldn't be anything such as a pandemic, and pandemics are just gonna grow and grow and grow when remaining in the matrix where it was created, or a disease was created, or fractures were created, or ego, and everything on that same line. It's a line from a dot created, many dots created a line. Once we surpass that line, we can move back up into our own ascension, and that is truly a beautiful process in which we truly need to put in the work, knowing how to do it, because knowledge and intelligence becomes a very dominating factor here, as this universe, it calculates or recalculates everything with every change that comes through. And that is essentially also a mathematical function in the back of our brain, or cerebellum. Because once we understand nature, which we don't actually, if we all did have that largest level of the language that comes from nature, many people say, if only I could see it. You can. You need just to do the work and work yourself up that ladder and move beyond the matrix. So essentially we had a light body, and around that was our direct connect to our source, which is a crystalline ball termed a source stone that has everything you ever need to know to move up, that has the original data, that has so much. And that crystalline direct source connect, your source stone, broke into pieces, and thus it cut off your connection to the divine sources and forces, and especially your direct living light force, because if it were not, nobody would be aging, nobody would be crumbling in density, diseases, and opening up one pandemic after the other, which will continue unless you move beyond it. And that is, the technology I really want to explain in deep detail, because it's important to get back to that language with the nature, which opens up from within first, and thus there's many layers to open up from within, and with it comes always subtraction of soul, ego, consciousness mentalities in the spiritual vein, in the old psychology, and definitely the emotional body, which we have to deal with at some point and replace that by the higher senses or the higher sensual embodiment. Because an emotional body in the universe does not exist. It simply exists on the earth plane, because it opened that creation to which it could implement fear for everything, disease for everything. So the dark forces created that. And so it can be a very deep, interesting ocean of re-educating yourself in there. So it comes down first from reconnecting in order to feel movement, as feeling movement is your first reconnection, and feeling movement can be done if that reconnection has some sort of an anchor point. We have many energies, many forces and sources. We live in a living light atmosphere. Within that atmosphere, not on Earth, within Earth. And so we can reconnect to all the magnificence of the Earth as everything in the universe, or direct divine connection with the creators, with many species, as there's life all over the cosmos, because that's the origin of creation. So moving all the way up into the creator self is a truly interesting journey, and with it comes in the first place the language of living light, that is the language of nature, and making that visible, opening up many eyes, the creator eye, the source eye, the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh eye. There is no end, because creation is unlimited. So don't here I would suggest to understand that anyone who has achieved ascension, I mean to talk about, the elements, masters, angelic kingdoms and stuff, they continuously move up in higher degrees of creation and bring true new creative functionality meaning techniques to give us an easier time to move up and work with them, not bringing or asking them to do it for you. Like, we still have that Guru syndrome in India and many places over the world. Why would you need another entity to move into your body, speak for you, and do the ascension? That is not working, because you need to do your reconnection yourself. And that is, once you understand that, then we start to understand nature as all our life forces have been killed, we can rebuild. We can rebuild what has been killed. And that is something very beautiful to go through, because, you know, just look at the earth. The elements have been killed. Our body is made out of water. The body of this planet on which we live, because we live in this atmosphere, has been killed and has been repaired. And so I've been talking a lot about our initial reconnection, actually, into light body through the crystalline grids. So the origin of creation came to crystalline grids, and there are, you know, million, billions, myriads of crystalline grids, and then we can regrid the body in a crystalline embodiment. And that starts off by a very, very simple construction in the home. That is your home crystalline grids, through which you can place any other grid, through which you can expand 10, 20, 30 miles and connect to all the continents, unless, you know, you want to stay dormant. Staying dormant on the planet doesn't breed any life forces, and so we can connect with the origin of Chi. And if we want to reconnect to that, we need a system that allows for that reconnection. And why is that? But the system, I mean to say a light body, because it's actually the flow that opens another flow and another flow. So everything, if we make a movement, we open flow, and flow comes through water. And when we look at, because the original carrier of a life force and your original reconnection is water, and our water is drowning in emotions. So our water in the body is extremely muddy, but we can purify into crystalline vision and purify and make the transition from the dense waters in the body into pure crystal clear water. And when we do that, we also repair the eyes, they upgrade with it. So there's a lot to go to. But the most important thing here is to bring that understanding to your brain, and then see what you want to do with it, how you want to move in, you know, everything that descended with you, to move that in to living light forces, working with all the divine sources and getting to know them. So, and that is huge, because you know, we also feel, I just want to say one more word about water. Many people, you know we have to drink a lot of water, and you know, to bring through the nutrients. But if the water on the planet has not been purified, and we don't live in a system such as a crystalline grid that allows for the purification of water, then we see a lot of people get dehydrated. And the reason for it is because you can drink like 2, 3, 4 bottles if you want, you know, 1, 2 liters, and it doesn't hydrate you anymore like 100 years ago. So you need a lot of input. And reason why, by the way, I created designs or energy bottles, put in designs, geometric designs that uplift with a special crystal. In this case, it's always the aquamarine crystals, and from a special country, and the designs, because with the white purification way and opening the pink way into the highest senses, we need to know which way to apply to attain a certain or to have access to a certain function in order to get your goals completed. I hope that is a little bit clear. So transitioning the water, drinking water after that in the body with the opening of your essential living light force can bring a lot to the equation, because we can put crystals in the water and continue that process, which also demands to reconnect with the origin of water of the planet that still carries its original seed. We need to know which rivers, which oceans, which lakes that bring that purification through. So let's say that if we look at the universe, we do know somehow there is huge energy movement going on, because the divine is landing with the house of light right now and will not allow these atrocities that happen to all of us, the animal kingdoms, the elements, any longer. And that is because this huge creation is always connected to the four cornerstones and everything in between. And that is in axis, actually. And then I will explain that a little bit more. So it's actually, what we need to understand is that the divine sources and forces in nature works on the mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and higher bodies. Once we have done that purification and installed ourselves in some vessel of life to which the life forces and sources can reconnect, then we can open up to the origin, which is light and sound, right? So light and sound, light is not so difficult. The sound waves come into the higher realms as you can see that as a building, you know, these huge buildings with many levels. So the same architectural construction is within this universe, that is the omnipotent black universe, and all the universes of first creations, that are 12 universes connected to the 12 tribes of Israel. And reason why so much is going on in Israel, and because we bring through huge grids there to override many things. And so reason why many feel nauseous at times, or very tired, it's because there is no update with the movement that the divine is requiring right now from us. And so it's actually, when we look at the earth has been created through the architecture of geometrics. Geo means earth-like, and metric is a measurement. And we're living in the crystalline grids. The crystalline grids have the treasure of opening up measurements. So measurements open up your unique data to receive codes, to receive light language, to receive designs, to open up all the geometrical patterns, and in the first place, your authentic master design. In the former video, I explained that in detail. So it's actually that it brings through the opening, these measurements through a crystalline grid, bring through the opening into the first living light forces and sources that creates a vortex. So multi-directional vortexes and spirals can actually bring through designs derive all of the time from a geometrical pattern, such as a cube, a triangle, a dodecahedron, name it. They are subdivisions, such as the light realms has many subdivisions and levels to upgrade through. So the main goal is truly, when moving out of the electromagnetical system and move directly into the electronic alignment through the electronics of a light embodiment. And that is so important if we want to move in, feel the movement through us, because on the Earth, in the magnetic system, you will hardly feel any vortexes moving into the open world. And when we don't feel the flow, because it's the first measurements that brings pleasure, that opens up communication with elements. I get many designs here. So, you know, it's, you know, at times for me, it's like also a trampoline, like, yeah, I need to delete this, and new things pop up. So it's always, when you move into ascension, it's in divine design. Divine design means you receive your code, but also you receive the essential information, like this is what you need to do now, this is what cannot longer wait if you want to move on. And you hear these instructions, because the ears, the attention tubes, open up also to the spark self and your direct connect to your source that speaks 24/7. And then life becomes fun. And these vortexes, it's like, you know, when we see the torus, you know, and you breathe that in, it creates vortexes left and right, or left and right, left and right, because the original woken chords, or the highest level of imbalances, is of course the lady gent that broke. And reason why people are fishing after relationships that has no value, because that is, you know, not the original connection most of the time. And many times that partner, or your original male or female composition in light body, is not on this side, and perhaps in some other realm or planet. And but I must say, at times there's very good relationships we can witness. And the essential point in relationships is actually to complement each other, such as complementing, like a physical body cannot be completely off-deleted, you know, like, let's say, through poor nutrition, poor physical fitness. There's many sorts. You can dance, you can run, you can lift weights, you can go to the gym. I mean, whatever you fancy, but it needs that circulation in order to open up vortexes of light in which the flow comes. And the first initial thing is a purification of water, blood, the skeletal structure. The nervous system is a continual upgrade due to the emotional flow, and moving that into the highest senses. So let's say that all these dimensions, the entire architecture in the universe, is connected to water. And when moving up that ladder, that it's the water, the humidity, the, you know, the value, the higher value within water that brings back the higher living life sources. And reason why, when we want to feel those vortexes in the first place, it will come to the flow of water in the body, through the kidneys, the interstellar water, through the spinal columns, the ventricles in the brain. So that is a little bit of anatomy to understand, but once you work with it and you know how to do that, then you can go a long way. So let's say many people drinking even water from the home and not in bottles, like tap water. I mean, you can drink as much as you want. It will no longer, or at a very small degree, bring through any humidity or hydration, unless it is connected to a living light design, such as these that I have created to bring people back there. If you want to clear the waters, live in a crystalline grid that only moves with the construction of the new tree of life, the new emanations of all 12 universes and the higher ways, which is 22 connected to 22 Hebrew letters, connected to many languages of living light. So, and then we can start the process of regeneration, rejuvenation, the regrowth from the old biological molecular construction into living light particles that upgrade through many, many living light forces and sources, and then that gets pleasant. So because in order to reconnect with your source, with the divine forces, and communicate with many, many species out there, we need that connectivity, we need that rotation, we need the chi ley lines, the meridians to reconnect. We need, everything is connected to an axis. The axis rotation is completely changing as the earth is purifying, and so it actually moves up into a higher realm, and we have to move with it. If we don't, we get depleted, or we move on to the other side and get educated on a lesser planet. So I guess many will move on. I have not a particular view on that. It's none of my business either way, because I think everybody, truly everybody, is capable of moving out of the old worlds and back into the origin. And that is, you know, once chi, exotonal lines, ley lines, links, it's all like an architecture, right? So I guess architects may understand this a lot. There's even architects of the universe. It's, you know, these higher level masters. It's really fun to connect with them. They will direct you, they will explain, and in really, really easy terms. So it's, yeah, really a big thing to blow out everything soul, and that also, that is, you know, the worst thing they created in the matrix with the dark forces, actually the chakra system. That, you know, that's not a thing of the divine. And so we're moving the chakras and creating one pillar of light that contains all pillars of light that are resurrecting many different places, such as the alpha omega places, power places on the planet also. And they create new designs, new shapes, and every shape, pardon me, matters. So here, when the heart is the primal connection back to the source, that has been crushed. Because when being downloaded in the matrix, what happened is that right brain, that is the heart, that is the higher feeling nature, that is the knowledge to higher intuition, higher sensitivity, that has, you know, the communication with nature, or living light communication, whatever you term it, is perfect for the divine. It is, you know, bringing your own terms to your own ascension that matters, because it gets you into your individuality. And thus, let's say that these shapes reproduce new designs. So when we see that everything that was gone astray created massive imbalances, and in order to move into geometry, patterns of design, feeling the flow, opening your own data station, receiving your own information, I no longer term it channeling. I you know, it's just my universal communication. And then, of course, we start to purify, and the highest level of purification, of course, needs to come through the breathing system. most people having lost their living light force, they connect and breathe at a very, very low level. Many heart diseases, many lung diseases, you know, many are, yeah, diseases connected to the arteries and so on. And reconnecting to the living light force of the lungs of the earth and the lungs of the universes, and that's a huge process. So that goes first and foremost with your reconnection to your source, the breath of source, the eternal breath, the immortal breath, the omni-beyond breath, the creator breath. I mean, I guess it will move into the cosmological breath if, you know, that makes sense. That is logic if we want to expand many, many miles in circumference. And thus, that brings me to the expansion of time, which I also explained in the former video. So, expansion of time comes with the opening of your chi energy, and opening that up, clearing the lungs daily, like a few minutes is quite enough, and then purifying what comes it. So there's, you know, the divine always brings many forces together, not only your particular life force, that is also divided in many different levels. So there's a lot that needs to come back into understanding if we want to educate ourselves and want to move all the way to recreate our life force and upgrade that on an everyday. Then your journey becomes passionate. So yes, I teach that, and if you wanna, there's all the links in the description. If you wanna go in Light Body Mastery Alchemy, there is a special series now I do bring out, and that is upgrades with the elements, and that is really into the beyond, into the immortals. There is a reconnection to your living light source. You know, and then especially what is very important, that is the opening into the new great central sun. That is your origin. So because we know life reduces immunity all of the time, and that is also what I bring through, is opening that immune system into the divine immunity. And divine immunity needs that living light source, or it cannot kick in, anchor in, and move you into the upgrade. So let's creating that chi back in the body, repairing the immunity, repairing, expanding the lungs, and clearing out the blood circulation is one of the major points here. And essentially deciding to move in that light body, because when we look a lot at what is happening now, we have artificial intelligence, which is horrific. I mean, I think at some point they cannot think. They may be very intelligent, but they will never reach the intelligence of your own divinity, your own connection. You are so divine, and you have every capability within, because there's billions of highways within us. If only we open that and we bring back the fusion of left and right brain, and because that what was fractured in the first place, and then many connectivities come back in, and so you learn to work with all 22 ways within creation. So let's say that artificial intelligence will never be able to communicate with nature, because it's a force through which you will never be able to walk on water. Can you imagine seeing a robot walking on water? So I keep away from all that stuff, because there is, you know, some sort of mastery blueprint from the divine that upgrades every day, and that opens up the age of communication, so requiring us to intercommunicate at least with each other a lot more. So I'm very happy if you leave a comment here, where you're at, what you're doing in Ascension, how you meditate, what are your connectivities, because just working with a weight or design opens things, but the reconnectivity comes through the new light body, the new tree of light, because the tree has roots, and these roots within the tree communicate underground. When I look in meditation to a crystalline grid and I go underground, I see huge life popping up. Many elements that were non-existent for, you know, many lifetimes are coming back due to the purification process that is going on. So that artificial intelligence, I would say that kills life, you know. So our natural tree needs to match the new purified life forces with all the first 12 branches in the first place. So because the flow of pure water comes actually from the power of the word, and the word created everything. So that is sound and vision. Everything in the universe is light and sound through the word. So when aligned, it is also termed the what, you know, the vortex, the rod of power, and to which you can command to walk on water, to which you can command, pull your command in with the elements. So we need to be at a huge purified state in order to be able to do that. But because when we look at people on the planet, most people never hold on to their word, no matter what. They don't, you know, they say one thing right now, and half an hour later they say anything else. So it breaks, you know, if you have contacts, it breaks contacts, it breaks friendships, it breaks many things. So bringing back the life force in the authentic word, matching your particular energy signature, which I talked about also, you know, that is like having your own template. And when we look at the construction of all universes, imagine this crystal ball, this huge planet Earth that moves with a huge universe that has, you know, many, many levels to move through, because it's an architecture, it's a construction. And, you know, when we move through the first 12 layers and then opening up, making that bridge of light, that is green light go, that is very, very important. Moving into that bridge opens up the first living light realms, which comes through between 6 and 7 dimension, and then opening that up to 12 dimension, then you open up the first living light realm, the second level, you know, and so forth. So yeah, it's something very interesting to witness here, is that the universe always reconstructs itself. The elements always reconstruct itself. So we need that repair in, like, especially in consciousness, removing, you know, the fractures between left and right, male, female, continuously repair the imbalances and reharmonize into the higher level. So getting out of subconsciousness, that is essential. We need to be conscious of everything. So the subconsciousness is actually the things we don't know and can be eliminated, because it's part of the brain. The brain is part of the mind, pardon me. And it was never meant to have a mind. A brain is quite enough when it has its original function. So mind is also, you know, connected to ego and all that stuff. So when we see, you know, people essentially living on this planet on many different places that were never meant, you know, or let's say it would be better people would move from there, from these power plants, and live somewhere else, because these power plants are connected to crystalline grids, and crystalline grids need to move, circulate, upgrade, and best not in very dense populated areas. And so we killed a lot of that, such as, you know, the oceans and everything. So because these power plants especially can bring that flow of chi in the body, that life force, and thus reason why we are rebuilding communities, cities, continents, and merging somehow, or, you know. So here for that last piece is how to really get into the flow, in to feeling the rotation like a torus. When you breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, then we need to feel that these vortexes come open, and thus everything comes to a shape. You know, before the Dark Ages, we didn't need that construction, but going back into a light body, so the shape that was created in first light body is like a diamond of light. You see, that is here an example of the diamond of light I teach, and on the 4 points we can connect an axis, because the universes, in order to kick in any technique in light and sound, needs to have an anchor point. And when it needs to anchor immediately in your body without the creation of a light body, chances are that you will collapse very quickly. And reason why the old spiritual movement, you know, is cracking into pieces, because it hasn't been upgraded for many, many, many decades. And also that is because through the matrix, when you connect to light, and these dense forces, they trigger and catapult you off, because they don't want you to move into light, and to knowledge, and to intelligences, and so forth. We've seen that enough during the past 3 years. The pandemic was all about getting that through them. And during that time, of course, a lot of living life forces were regained, you know, their natural power on the planet, because it was being installed. So that diamond, when we breathe in, we can open up a natural reconnection, your original seed connection through the earth, that kicks in on 1 point, and that brings an eternal spiral all the way up through the spine, all the way up. And that upper point on that diamond connects back into your source direction. And it also has north, south, east, west, and all the other flares coming through. So with that, you can start to rotate with your breath. And so you upgrade your breath all of the time. And that is, you know, how you can gain your reconnectivity with your source, the divine forces, sources, the architecture, the Elohim, actually those who help us to get up in that ladder. And there's many, many levels, the Urim, the Tulum, I don't know them all by heart, but they do exist. And so an axis position has some sort of a handle. Breathe in, and that axis, you know, the entire earth is rotating on an axis, and thus our body needs to rotate on an axis, because around the diamond of light we recreate the Master Soul Stone that once cracked. And so we recreate our axis, and we recreate our pulse of energy, and thus everything from within can start to open up. A matter of realigning as well to the great centralizer, the great central sun repaired, that needs to move beyond the chakras, as I said, the pillar of light, moving the great central sun and opening up that lion's gate. And that is pure empowerment, because our life force comes from the great central sun, right? And so that opens up direct connect to the flower of life, that is within that source stone. And when we connect to it, it reconnects you to the power of life. It reconnects you also to the fire ladders, the Hebrew ladders. It reconnects you to many shapes in the universe. So the universe actually never stops adding once you open up to do that work. And so you can ascend, and ascending is also with opening up one level of chi into the next level. I remember, like, I've been doing that like 15 years ago, and right now it feels completely different. So, and that is fun, because you get impressions, you get your own designs, you get signs from the universe, you getting fine-tuned, you get, with it comes, the making everything more and more visible with the day. And it truly happens. And at times you feel a lot of flickering, you feel like a lightning bolt at times in the brain. So that's a good sign. And also, it's all connected to us as an eternal being, to the eternal spiral, to the octavation, because that is, connected to sound and how that moves up. So, the quality of air needs to match the quality of fire within the great central sun, that is your living life force. And how to do that, so many designs come up with it. This is one design, as I have created a series, if interested, directly into the Lion's Gate, or home, and that is the great central sun, and how to open up your living life forces, but also your direct connect to the eternal staff of light. And of course, all these things cannot enter when remaining in a chakra system in the fractures, and thus teaching self from a setup in a crystal grid in the diamond of light body that contains all 12 universes, and creating that Master Soul Stone, opening up the vortexes that come through massive installation of a crystalline grid for the eye, a crystalline grid for the ears, a crystalline grid for the word of power, a crystalline grid, for so many things. But it can be done one at a time. So, and that is where life becomes truly interesting, because you get your information, you get your designs, such as you've seen. Many designs are coming through. The most important here are really those to transition the water first, so you get a better level of hydration in the body. Hydration is needed in order to get that flow of water to the body and invert the mud in the water. And with it comes that you naturally purify your nutrition, and an upgrade in nutrition is a huge thing in light body. You will, on a natural instinct, reject certain products and add certain products, because you will need it. So light body needs quite different vitamins and minerals than a body that doesn't work with its origin, light and sound in this case. So I hope for you guys that clarifies a little bit. If you want to have a look, I opened the series here with the elements that is brand new. I'm doing this year, and opening up in the black universe, purifying the waters, and then opening your life force. So I got 3 until now, so whatever comes I will put that down. These are very, very strong alignments, like they are being put in intervals like 1 hour at a time, or 3 hours or longer. But you learn so many things, or you know, the movement into your first setup with crystallization of the body, self-mastery and alchemy. There is a free webinar about that if you're interested, and if not, thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for leaving a comment, and I'll be back next week. So videos come out once a week, and we'll see what happens there. Thank you. I'm SharlotChi.